Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock and we'll start the planning meeting for January 22nd. I just wanted to introduce council. We have Mayor Tarian at home this evening sick, so he's on Zoom. We also have Councillor Kaczynski to the right of me, Councillor Miller next to him, and Councillor Warren next to Councillor Miller, and myself, Councillor Glenn Fuel, Deputy Mayor. So to begin with, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll have approval of the agenda. I believe we'll have one amendment. That'll be 6.3. I'll ask Mrs. Draper to go ahead and
so administration is just recommending we remove 6.3, the development agreement for Qualico, until the February planning meeting.
Thank you. Council, Mr. Kaczynski, Councillor Kaczynski, sorry. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, thank you. I have some questions here. How does item come up on the agenda in the first place if there is no further information or response from Qualico?
Received a response from Qualico.
We had received a email response from Qualico. From David Jopling. He had sent the email on January the 20th. We were supposed to get the signed agreement from him on Monday, which we did not. He had mentioned, he said, hey, Martin, thanks for clarifying. We do not have any concerns with the development agreement. Just need time to inform our executive of the final numbers of approval, and looks like we may need a few more days. We will get the DA signed for you for the February meeting. So that was an email from David Jopling to Martin on Tuesday the 20th.
So if the agreement gonna be re-signed or sign new one?
It'll be the same agreement. The development agreement didn't have any signatures on it, and we normally take the agreement before council with signatures to show.
So when was the first agreement developed? What year?
Oh, I'd have to check. There's been multiple drafts of the agreement. This is the final draft to come before council.
So when was the latest? Okay, so you don't know those dates now, but because times change, yeah, there is different, things like water rates, everything change, yeah, from whatever the agreement was initially developed, and then now we have to make agreement with today's dates, yeah, and rates and everything like that.
Yep, there have been updates to the agreement, and I could show you the first draft of the last draft.
Yeah, I appreciate if you could, show it to the council, every one of us, so we can be prepared if the next meeting comes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll ask council for approval of the agenda.
Sorry, I need a mover and seconder.
Okay, yep. Mover, Councillor Kaczynski, and second by Councillor Warren. All in favor? So moved, unanimous. Okay, we're public hearings. I'll read the procedures for public hearings under the Planning Act. Public hearing matters will now be heard under the Planning Act. Council wishes to thank you for attending this evening and taking on an interest in your community. The public hearing process is as follows. The public notice will be read out, indicating the intent of the application. The development officer will provide a summary and information pertaining to the proposal. Those that wish to make representation and speak on a planning matter must sign in, print your name, mailing address, and indicate for, against, here for information. You'll be given the opportunity to make a presentation or speak on this matter presented before council. Opportunity for presentation or to speak on the matter will be in the following order. Applicant will speak to make presentation on the proposed application. Inquiries will give you the opportunity to ask for clarification on what the planning matter proposed. Those in favor, this will give those that are in favor the opportunity to speak. Those in opposition, this will give those that are in opposition the opportunity to speak. When you begin speaking, please state your name and address. A reminder that at all times you are to direct your comments or questions to the chairperson, which is myself and not others. Once everyone has had the opportunity to speak, council may close the public hearing on this matter, after which further input from the public will not be permitted for legal reasons. It is important that if you wish to speak and be heard on a planning matter, now is the time to make the representation. Again, once I, the chairperson, close the public hearing, no future discussion will be allowed. Thank you. We'll carry on with 5.1, conditional use 26-01. Sorry, just give me a second here. To permit a general contractor service demolition business on the land as per section 69.39 within the MG Industrial General Zoning District. I'll now let the director of Dan Doucette to continue with the application.
Colleen, we need a motion to move forward.
Oh, okay. So I get a motion to move forward. Councillor Miller moves, and Councillor Warren seconds.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fuel. We have conditional use application 26-1. The proposal is to permit a general contracting service, being a demolition business on the land as per section 69.3 number 9 within the MG Industrial General Zoning District. This is located at 216 Jean Marc within the northeast quarter of 1611-4. Winnipeg Dig and Demolition Inc. The owner is requesting council's approval to allow for the general contracting service on the 1.5 acre industrial site. Winnipeg Dig and Demolition is a construction company that provides services including excavation, demolition, sewer and water installations, grading, and shoring. The site will be used for equipment storage. The existing building will be used for their office, their dispatch. The garage bays will be used to service their fleet, mechanical servicing related to the company's construction operations. Their proposed hours of operation are flexible and depending on the work conditions and the fleet repairs that require servicing. Their primary operating hours are normally 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. There may be occasional instances where the work occurs outside of these hours for short durations and depending on the operational needs. Currently, there are 9 employees. That number will remain stable for approximately 1 year of the operation. Employees regularly report to 216 Jean Marc at the beginning of their shifts, pick up the company vehicles, then return the vehicles at the end of the work day. A maximum of 35 vehicles can be stored at the site at any given time. That includes business and employee private vehicles. They currently own approximately 25 pieces of equipment. The company vehicles that are included are dump trucks, excavators, pickup trucks, skid steers, and backhoes. The number may fluctuate due to the sales or acquisition of equipment. As of now, parking includes 25 pieces of equipment on the south side of the building and 4 equipment spaces along the east side of the building. There are 10 additional parking spaces located on the north side of the building, and those are designated for employee and visitor parking. At the time of the inspection, the lot, again, is an existing industrial building. There was approximately 16 derelict vehicles parked on site, mostly on the east side of the property limits and also to the rear. Tires and vehicle parts were on the site. A dump truck had just arrived, and there were 2 personal vehicles. There was also a refuse bin within the front yard. On my second time for the site inspection, I entered the property, and there were quite a few more vehicles within the rear yard, and I had an opportunity to speak with one of the gentlemen who was who didn't have all his paperwork for this council meeting, and he's planning to come to the February meeting because a portion of that building is going to be rented out for one of the businesses that had the infraction. And I believe it was Chicago Auto Body, but council can hear that application back in February. If council were to approve this conditional use, I would offer the following 8 conditions. Number 1, that our municipal building inspector and fire chief conduct a building and fire inspection for the existing industrial building to ensure that all life safety, building and fire code requirements are met, and that any required code upgrades and/or infractions be corrected prior to the operation of the business. Number 2, all derelict vehicles and parts shall be removed from the site prior to the operation of the general contracting business. Number 3, that the commercial refuse bin be placed at the rear of the building and out of sight. Number 4, outside storage of equipment and materials is allowed as part of the general contracting business, subject to the storage of the equipment and materials be located at the rear of a line adjacent to and parallel the front wall of the building, and the storage area shall be fenced and screened from public view to the satisfaction of the designated officer, and the storage shall not project above the height of the fence or the screening. Number 5, no off-site demolition waste or hazardous materials shall be returned or kept on site at any time. Demolition waste, including but not limiting to concrete, bricks, metal, wood products, finishes and interiors, insulation, glass, plastics, fixtures, and any other items determined by the designated officer. Number 6, that the development permit be obtained for any signage related to the business. Number 7, this order shall expire and become null and void on the date the business ceases to be in operation. And number 8, this order shall not be transferable to any other owner and/or lessee. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, Mr. Ujla? Okay, do you have anything to add to what the director, Mr. Doucette, has talked about for the application? You'll have to come up to the mic and introduce yourself, please, and address.
Suknaj Ajla, and address is 321 Paul Boulevard, Winnipeg, Manitoba. The garbage bin that's located at the front of the site, it's from Chicago Auto Repair. That is not ours. Ours is located on the back of the site already.
Okay.
Maybe there is confusion.
My condition is to clean up the yard and to bring that refuse bin to the back. Chicago Auto has not even made an application to come before council. So council would like to see the yard cleaned up, including the derelict vehicles on the property.
Okay, I understand that then. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Any inquiries for information? Don't see none online either. Those in favor to speak? Don't see none. Those in opposition to speak? Don't see none. Okay, so council, does have a discussion on the application? Don't see none.
Deputy Mayor?
Oh, sorry. Yep.
I just had a question there. If this is demolition, is there asbestos products there? And I guess, do we know, according to what the applicant was saying there, that one bin is for Chicago Auto? Could there be asbestos there? I think we brought that up at a last meeting that we had. I couldn't say how long ago, but I think it was in the industrial Penner area there. If they had asbestos or something like that, they had it covered and marked there. Is that part of the agreement that we would have?
I'll ask did Mr. Doucette?
As one of the conditions stated, we do not want any dangerous goods or asbestos on the property.
Okay, then thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mayor Tarion. I'll see that we'll close the public hearing and take it to a vote. Those in favor? Oh, say the resolution, sorry.
Whereas a public hearing has been conducted under the Planning Act to consider an application filed by Winnipeg Dig and Demolition on behalf of 100158832 Manitoba Limited, owner of the property located at 216 Jean Marc Avenue for conditional use under the Springfield zoning bylaw number 0801. Whereas council is satisfied that the requirements of Part 7 conditional uses be met, be it resolved that conditional use order number 2601 be granted subject to the 8 conditions.
So having heard that, take it to a vote. Those in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to 5.2, conditional use 2602 at to permit the construction of the second dwelling within 1,000 feet of the property limits of a site zoned MXH Industrial Extractive Holding Zoning District as per section 5441 within the AG Agriculture General Zoning District. I'll ask the Mr. Dan Doucette to speak to the application.
We have conditional use application 2602. Mr. Jason Tucker is requesting council's approval to permit the construction of a second dwelling within 1,000 feet of a 1,000 feet of a property that is currently zoned MXH, which is Industrial Extractive Holding Zoning District. The MXH Industrial Extractive Holding District is located directly to the north of the subject site, as shown on page 3 of council's report. The proposed second dwelling will be approximately 678 feet south of the lands that are zoned MXH. The owners have selected this site due to the proximity of the hydro service. If the dwelling placement is beyond or was at 1,000 feet or greater, the owners will incur a considerable expense to extend the hydro service to that dwelling. The principal building near the front of the property is approximately 230 feet from the MXH Industrial Extractive Holding Zone District. There are approximately 10 dwellings that are currently adjacent to the MXH zone land, and the closest dwelling is only 98 feet away, which is directly to the east of the MXH land. Just as a reminder for council had heard the variance application yesterday for the second dwelling that was permitted. If council were to approve the proximity or distance of this conditional use, I had 3 conditions attached to that. Number 1, that all applicable permits shall be obtained from the municipality prior to the construction of the dwelling. Number 2, upon transfer of land, all future owners and/or tenants must be informed in writing by the current owners of the potential future aggregate activities nearby, including some of the nuisances associated, i.e. noise and dust. Prior to the transfer of land, written correspondence must be signed by all parties, and a copy of the said correspondence must be submitted to the municipal planning office. Number 3, that the municipality will not be responsible for the replacement of any private water supply, i.e. private water wells, as a result of any future or existing aggregate operations. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Thank you. Okay, so having said that, the applicant, is there anything to add, Mr. Tucker or Miss Wilson? Just state your name and address, please.
Jason Tucker, 25022 Oakwood Road. Just had a couple questions on the last two conditions. So the last condition was, what was that about a well?
That the municipality is not going to be responsible if the well fails.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Okay. And the
replacement.
second one,
The second one, if you sell the land
Right.
to somebody else, you're going to advise the owner that there is an aggregate pit next door and provide that in writing to our department.
right. I just, I don't have any plans of selling. I just moved there, right? Obviously, I just hope, I just hope that if I were to have to sell, I already have to get rid of the second dwelling
Correct.
to sell,
Yep.
right? And I don't know, it's just if I'm selling my house and I've got this other thing, when somebody reads it, I'm gonna be breathing in all this dust one day or whatever, it might make it harder to sell my current dwelling that I have with that
It's
condition, right?
yep. It's just to advise any potential owners of the existing operation nearby.
Okay. So I guess I have to take that condition.
You can negotiate with council if they want
Okay.
to take it off.
Yeah, I just, I mean, I'm not scared of the zone of the pits there. I wasn't aware of them when I moved in, but I don't feel that would have influenced me. I just hope that, and I don't plan on selling, and I know that I have to get rid of my second dwelling anyways if I were to sell. So I would hope that wouldn't make it harder for me to sell my primary dwelling in the future, having to disclose that I'm next door to a gravel pit.
Well, and I would state that, these gravel pits again is I think it's important that the people that are buying that, and again, this is worst case scenario in your situation.
Right.
But I believe that, and for my end of it, I would be supporting that you would let them know, because again, it's just fair. And that's why it's a conditional use to begin with, part of it, right?
Okay.
Okay, and council can add in if anything from council.
And my primary dwelling must have been a conditional use for that reason as well. It was only built 3 years ago, so I don't know, but
I'd have
Okay.
to check. Sorry.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Now I'll ask, is there any inquiries? I don't see none. Is there anybody wish to speak in favor? Don't see none. Anybody to speak in opposition? Don't see none. I'll ask council, any discussion on the applicant? Don't see none. I'll get a mover and a seconder. Can I get a mover? Councillor Krasinski and seconder, Councillor Warren. I'll close the public hearing. I'm a little rusty, so just bear with me when I'm going slow. I haven't run one of these meetings for a while. Thank you.
Whereas the public hearing has been conducted under the Planning Act to consider an application filed by Jason Tucker and Heather Wilson, owners of the property located at 25022 Oakwood Road, for a conditional use under the Springfield zoning bylaw number 0801. Whereas council is satisfied that the requirements of Part 7 conditional uses has been met, be resolved that conditional use order number 2602 be granted subject to the 3 conditions.
Okay, we'll take this to a vote. All those in favor? Pass unanimously. Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, we'll go to 5.3.
We
Go
have
ahead.
conditional use 25-05. The proposal is to permit an increase of 173.5 animal units to an existing diverse livestock operation producing greater than 300 animal units as follows. So it's from an existing 924 animal unit livestock operation to an overall total of 1,097 animal unit livestock operation. And this is for the from the existing 9,700 chicken laying flock to 20,000 chicken layer flock, and from the existing 2,400 chicken broiler flock to 20,000 chicken broiler flock. This is as per section 8338 and 51 within the AI agricultural intensive zoning district located at 36111 Richland Road in the east half of 6117. Mr. Michael Wollmann, on behalf of the Ridgeland Colony, is requesting council's approval to allow for the increase in animal units, which will increase their livestock inventory at the Ridgeland Colony. The Ridgeland Colony property is currently zoned agricultural intensive zoning district. An agricultural intensive zoning district is a specific land use classification in the municipal planning that designates and preserves prime agricultural land for highly productive farming operations. The primary goal is to support long-term food security, protect agricultural operations from urban encroachment, and to minimize land use conflicts with non-farming activities. As indicated in their letter of intent, the population of the colony is continually increasing, and the need for additional revenue is also increasing to support the individuals. Ridgeland Colony depends primarily on agricultural activities such as livestock and crop production. Its principal income source. Increasing the land base for the crop production has been increasingly difficult as the land availability becomes sparse. So the colony made a decision to increase the animal inventory, which means an increase in the annual income. The proposal, as mentioned, was to increase the chickens and the birds to facilitate the increase, or a portion of the existing agricultural building will be removed and a new structure will be erected in its place. The long term for the future will eventually be for an increase in the broiler chicken capacity for the existing, or from the existing 2,400 birds to 20,000 birds. The new agricultural building will be constructed and house these birds in the future. Manure for the livestock operation will be land applied at agronomic rates as a source of nutrient in crop production. The application of this manure will be monitored through the an annually filed manure management plan, which is submitted to the province of Manitoba for review and approval. Manure from the layer barn is proposed to be handled as a liquid and stored in the existing earthen manure storage until such a time it can be applied to the field. Manure and bedding for the broiler barn will be field stored in windrows, and the land applied once a year. Liquid manure is traditionally injected into the soil to keep odors to a minimum during the application process. Solid manure from the broiler operation will be applied to the surface and incorporated by tillage within 24 hours to conserve the nutrients and migrate the odor production. Sufficient land base is owned by Ridgeland Colony to sustainably support the field application of the manure as fertilizer source without any concerns of excess nutrient buildup over time. Mr. Michael Wollmann of the colony started the conditional use back on June 6, 2024. Prior to the conditional use application coming before council, the applicant had to submit relevant information to Manitoba and Northern Relations, which triggers a technical review. On July 14th, 2025, Municipal and Northern Relations provided correspondence to Mr. Peter Grieger, the professional engineer, on behalf of Ridgeland Colony for a site assessment application which had been pre-screened and formally accepted for the process. July 24th, 2025, public engagement relating to the technical review for the increased livestock, which was advertised in the Clipper weekly through a public notice. September 23rd, 2025, the technical review report was completed and forwarded to the municipality to start the formal process. December 23rd, notices of the public hearing and a copy of the TRC report were emailed to the following: the Minister, Community and Regional Planning out of Beausejour, the applicant, surrounding municipalities, and surrounding planning districts. Also on December 23rd, notice of public hearing was mailed out by regular mail to the surrounding landowners within the arm of Springfield and Taché, 3 kilometers of the livestock operation, which is part of the Planning Act and part of the technical review recommendation. Also, December 23rd, public hearing notice was posted at the municipal office, the planning office. January 5th, the notice was posted on the municipal website and on the subject site. On January 8th, the public notice was also advertised in the Clipper Weekly, and only one publication was required as per the technical review report. There was comments in the technical review report that stated that the Ridgeland Holdings hold a valid water rights license for agriculture and aquaculture purposes. It is advised that the proponent contact water use licensing section to determine if the license amendment is required. Also, they had talked about designated flood areas, that the farm property was not within a designated flood area, but recommended that any structures be elevated to the 200-year flood event, which would be approximately 1.5 meters, 5 feet above the ordinary high water level, and set back 100 feet from the top of the bank of the Cooks Creek to mitigate the risk of flooding and erosion. Our office received one objection from Mr. Hugh Arkley on August 17th, 2025, when the TRC public engagement was circulated. Our office had received correspondence from the RM Taché, which states that they have no concerns or objections with the proposed expansion. However, their council would like to note the following: any additional costs associated with the maintaining and affected section of the road under the shared works agreement between the normal maintenance frequency arising from increased traffic due to the high number of livestock will not be the responsibility of the RM Taché. Costs will remain a responsibility of the property owner or the municipality of Springfield. When speaking with Mr. Wollmann, he had indicated there would be one extra tractor trailer per week for hauling eggs out of the facility. In discussion with our Director of Public Works, Mr. Blaine Moffat, he did not see any issues with the road condition on Richland Road with the increased traffic. If council were to consider this conditional use, I recommend 5 conditions. Number 1, that the owner or operator shall be responsible to ensure that the livestock operation must be in compliance with all applicable municipal, provincial, and federal laws, acts, and regulations. Number 2, that the owner shall provide a drainage / lock grading plan for the site surrounding the new agricultural building that shall be prepared and sealed by a professional engineer and approved by the Public Works Department as per the municipal drainage policy and the Manitoba Conservation and Water Stewardship requirements. The drainage improvements shall be constructed prior to the issuance of any building permits for the property. Number 3, that the owner shall obtain a development permit for the livestock operation. Number 4, that the owner shall obtain the required municipal building permits. Number 5, that any new or expanding animal housing or manure facilities shall be maintained at a minimum setback of 100 meters from all major water bodies such as lakes, rivers, and all surface water courses such as wetlands, roadside ditches, and drains. And this is as per section 311.15 of our development plan. Ms. Holly Irvin Note, our senior planner and manager of municipal and northern relations, will provide an overview of the TRC report and any questions that council may have. I believe Holly is here in the gallery this evening, and I believe Mr. Wollmann has brought his engineer for discussion as well. Please note this is not a debate. Members of the public are to address council directly and not the applicant and not the provincial officials. Questions are to be directed directly to the chair. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Is the applicant here, Mr. Wollmann? Do you have anything to add?
Hello, my name is Peter Grieger of Southman Design Group, also a resident of the RM 37084 Hazel Ridge Road. Just on behalf of Richland Colony, I would like to thank council for the opportunity to bring this proposal forward and for your consideration, as well as the municipal staff for all their assistance throughout the process with regards to technical information and helping us complete the documentation for the TRC. And also thanks to the TRC committee for their technical assistance as well throughout this whole process. Mr. Doucette has kind of stole my thunder here with regards to my overall overview of the proposed operation. But just to expand upon that with respect to the reasoning behind the livestock operation, as many of you probably know, finding and purchasing land for agricultural grain production, commercial crop production is very difficult. And with current land prices, it's very costly, and the return on investment is a very prolonged period of time. This is why they chose the avenue of looking at expanding livestock operation, because the return on investment is much more immediate and substantially more sustainable for the future. Just like to add that we are here, or myself as an engineer, I'm here for any questions that you may have as from a technical perspective, and members of the colony are here as well if there's anything specific to the colony that I may not be able to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to inquiries. Does anybody have anything to inquire? Mr. Spears, would you come up, please? Mr. Doucette?
Mayor Fuel, did you want to hear from Holly from the province first, or did you want to get into the inquiries?
You know what? Maybe best that we do hear from Holly then. Sorry about that, Mr. Spears.
Hello.
Hi.
Dan covered a lot of my material as well. I'll go through the few bits that I think wouldn't be repetitive.
Can you speak closer to the microphone?
Sorry, is this better?
You can print it down, yes.
Yeah, is that better? Okay.
Okay.
So I'm Holly Irvin-Note, the Livestock Technical Review Committee Coordinator. So I can give you a quick overview of the technical review process and the report that was produced. So this report right here. So there are 5 provincial departments that participate in the review process. Agriculture, environment and climate change, natural resources and indigenous futures, transportation and infrastructure, and municipal and northern relations. Contact information for the TRC committee is on page 17 of the report. With me today is Petra Loro, Livestock Environment Specialist with the Department of Agriculture. Pauline Ordonez, Community Planner in the Beausejour Community Planning Office. And then attending virtually are Julie Fraze with Environmental Compliance and Enforcement, and Michelle Erb, Ag Planning Specialist with the Department of Agriculture. So the purpose of the TRC report is to provide information to the municipal council so it can make an informed decision, and to provide a forum where the public can share their concerns and the proponent can respond. So I won't go over the process with the dates of when we received the application because Dan already did that. But I can go a little bit over the section C, site assessment overview, which forms the technical piece of the report. So for the Livestock Technical Review Committee to do a review, the proponent is required to provide the province with information relating to all of the critical aspects of their proposal. And the provincial safeguards and requirements are related to this livestock operation are explained in column 3 of the table. So I'll just highlight a few items to note. Row 6. So Richland Holding Co. holds a valid water rights license. It has been advised that the proponent contact the water use licensing section to determine if a license amendment is required. Row 9, the proposed expansion from 924 to 1,097 animal units remains within the same animal unit category in table 51.3.2.1 of the RM of Springfield zoning bylaw, meaning that required separation distances won't change from what they are currently. Row 14, the applicant has indicated that all setback distances meet minimum requirements set out in the Livestock Manure and Mortalities Management Regulation. Two public comments were received expressing concerns related to water usage, potential increase in odor and flood risk. The proponent responded to the public comments in the letter provided in Appendix B of the report. So I'll go over the last section, conclusions and recommendations. The Technical Review Committee concluded that the proposed operation can meet all provincial requirements and standards. We request that council note in their resolution and conditional use order that the proponent has the right to appeal a council rejection or a condition of approval to the municipal board. An applicant may also appeal to the municipal board any terms and conditions included in a development agreement, as well as failure to conclude a development agreement within 90 days after conditional use approval is made. So thank you. That concludes my presentation, and we would be happy to answer any questions council has regarding the TRC process or the report.
Okay, we'll let council have a discussion then first. Does council have any questions for Holly? Councillor Kaczynski?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It was, very valuable to us as a council. The statistic of Canada have a usage of the water per resident as 75 gallons of water per day. and yet TRC lowered the standard to 33 gallons per day. Can you please explain how that happened and when that happened?
That may be a question for our environment and climate change TRC committee member. Julie, are you there? Are you able to speak to that?
I am
Good
there.
question.
I'm not familiar with what the standards are for this. We have water use standards for the livestock operation and then for individuals. And it's typically not for residential for the TRC process. It's more for people going in and out of the barns. So that might be why there's a difference in that. That being said, their water use license would encompass all of the agricultural operations. So.
Thank you, but it's combined, like they have a livestock operation and they have domestic increase of the, population and on the colony. So we would like to know how much water usage increase gonna be, with the increase of the population. So.
Right. So they do have to provide water use records. They're not increasing the population, so the increases would be based on the increases in the livestock that we have. So those would be based on those calculations. So I can't speak to how to anything beyond that, but perhaps the engineer could also speak to it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Warren?
I have a question concerning the water. So being on the CLC for Berger and knowing that that was a major concern before, I know this is an agriculture operation as well, and I know that they have multiple businesses within the colony with their fish and their hogs and then the chickens. So how do they measure how much water exactly? Like I know the business for Berger had like a water meter. How do they calculate? How do they know exactly how much water they're using? Would be my question.
I'm not certain about the specifics of their usage apart from what their water licenses allowed and what they have. I'm not sure if they need a meter or not. That would be something, unfortunately, I'm not directly in the water rights licensing branch, so I don't know the specifics of that. There are terms and conditions of each license, and they do have to provide records each year based on their usage. So, yeah.
Would the engineer like to come up and speak to that, or?
Yeah.
Show the
Sorry.
spotlight.
I just inquired with Mike from the colony here, and all of their wells are through a central distribution system, which
Okay.
has
a
water
monitor
metering.
and a
So they
meter?
could report back to their current water use as
Okay.
well as water use going forward.
Right.
That same information will be utilized to take to water stewardship for the water rights license to make sure that we're applying or amending the water rights license to the correct amount to what was being proposed for the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Mayor Tarian?
Thank you, Chair. I had a question with about the biovator there for under the Mortuary Act or whatever that act is there. Is it determined what size that you would have there, or is that to be gauged later on? I'm just kind of curious there. Do you go to the maximum level and then gauge it from there, or do we? Are they compelled to have a limit based on the size of the flock?
I guess I'll try to answer some of that. Although, sorry,
The consultant has also offered to speak to that.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, the BioVator is an ongoing composting system that's continually turning and processing the product that is going in. The intent there is that it is being utilized for their current flocks, as well as a portion of the mortalities coming out of the hog barn. The plan going forward would be to monitor what capacity or what the maximum capacity to get effective composting out of that would be, and then amend either the size or add an additional BioVator to the mix to handle any of the new mortalities that would be produced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next part here. For inquiries for anybody have inquiries to speak to? Come on up.
I'm just with Manitoba Egg Farmers. I just want to give maybe some background info. Or
You'll have to, sorry?
With Manitoba Egg Farmers, I can give some background information.
Sure, we could listen to that now, please. Introduce yourself and your address, please.
Donald Gauthier, 45106 Road 41 North. I'm vice chair of the Manitoba Egg Farmers. Just wanted to give a brief overview of the industry, of where it was and where it's going. One of the major changes was in our Animal Welfare Act. As of 2031, there is severe restrictions on producers that are still producing eggs in conventional housing. And by 2038, that all production in the conventional housing will be obsolete. Yes. So this is a nationwide, I don't want to say issue, a nationwide upgrade that's happening right now. And we represent 179 registered licensed pullet and layer producers in the province. And we have been encouraging our producers to convert as quickly as possible. It's something that the industry desperately needs. And we are encouraging it to happen as fast as possible. And Richland have taken on the initiative to convert and be ahead of the scale. So just for that, it's a necessity for the industry as well. So I just want to give that little tidbit.
Thank you. Okay, any more inquiries? Mr. Spears?
I've got a number of questions. It's mentioned in the technical review that there's wells that seem to be in the area but not accounted for. It's described as unknown wells and that need to be sealed professionally. And my question is, what has been done about that?
I'll ask Mr. Doucette, do you have any?
That's not
No, so
provincial with wells, water storage.
So Julie, maybe?
Environment, or we might be able to answer this, I'm sure.
Sorry, my muting was problematic there. Yeah, so they would be required to, I believe that they need to contact our groundwater branch to get that process moving. We do have a process online that they're required to properly seal any abandoned wells, things like that. And if there's a well and it's a location that's not known, they should be providing that information to us as they learn it. So yeah, so I'm not sure where it's at in the process, but they should be taking that opportunity to seal any unused wells that they have.
I'm having trouble making sense of their response, because if you've done a technical review, then what should have happened is there should be and a mapping process done to identify these wells before you go further. Because they are doing manure spreading in what's indicated as potential areas where there are wells that have not been properly decommissioned.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, please.
Part of the technical review process, there's a new section to it called which addresses that, and part of the problem that we're perhaps seeing here is that this wells, what they call a wells table, includes a review of all the historical information on the provincial database with respect to wells that have been drilled and have been recorded over time. Unfortunately, some of these wells go so far back that they can't be located. But through this process, it does address this immediate need in the respect that we do our due diligence, go to the spreading fields that are going to be receiving manure, identify anything that we can visually identify. We depend on the proponent, the colony, who are more familiar with these lands as well, to identify any potential wells. In this instance, there were a couple sites that we had gone to. There were wells on site that wanted to be actually maintained for the future. But they're within yard sites typically and outside of any of the area that would be receiving manure. So from that perspective, I think we've done our due diligence to protect against the concerns that have been addressed.
Thank you. Mr. Spears?
Well, one of your commitments, I think, as part of this review is that manure storage must not pollute surface water, groundwater, or soil. So whatever's under cultivation at the moment, those former homesteads that have wells that are still intact, that are not identified, I think that's, to me, is something that has to be addressed. It mentions if there's sinkholes, you got to avoid putting manure over that area. But if the area has been put under cultivation, then what's below ground? Because I know in some cases you have wells that are drilled, but the upper layer is actually dug. So it means that when you're doing a cultivation, if that's all been filled in or collapsed or whatever, then it's not accounted for and should be accounted for, so that you're not putting manure residue into the groundwater, particularly where you're using liquid manure and using that to fertilize the fields. So I'd like to have maybe a little better answer there if that's possible.
Would you like to come up and add to that? I think you've said everything in.
Not quite sure what to say with respect to that, other than if something is identified, the colony has made the commitment and are aware of the fact that if it potentially would be impacted by manure, they will decommission it, and typically that's done through the local water conservation district, which I think Springfield has that service available. The other thing is there's certain setbacks for manure application, and they, as part of their manure management plan, they have to abide by those setbacks. So if there are any wells are usable or abandoned, they have to stay those setback distances away to protect water resources.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think we've resolved the issue there. I understand there's well records available through the province and through Friesen drillers and other entities of the same nature. I think they should be proactive and do their due diligence and make sure it's not based on, I found something, here it is. So I recommend that be part of this process. The other thing I have a concern about is it makes reference to the fact that the manure storage should have cover. And my understanding is that that is particularly true in the case of liquid manure. And they indicate that if we put a shelter belt up, that basically takes care of possible odor transmission. But I think we've got a bigger issue than odor transmission in terms of open lagoons. And this application presumes to expand that. But I don't see a commitment there to have this lagoon covered. So what's the answer?
Who would like to speak to that?
You're right. At this time, there is no commitment to cover the lagoon because it's pre-existing. There's a minimal increase in capacity that we are looking at to facilitate the manure storage from the layer barn. The problem with the cover is that if it's a straw cover, it becomes problematic on the manure application end of things, plugging lines and such. The risk of doing that is with these lay flat hoses that they use for direct injection. If those plug, the risk is higher of having a spill trying to clean that out than the benefits that you're gaining from the odor reduction in the lagoon that you're seeking. The other thing is they've tried synthetic covers for lagoons, very cost prohibitive and very unreliable. So at this point, there would be no intention other than maintaining the shelter belt that's there and perhaps adding some additional shelter belt as an odor mitigation measure.
Thank you. Holly, would you like to add something to that, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to note also that we don't make suggestions about whether council should be requiring these things. Our report just lays out the conditions that council could consider adding that are allowed under the Planning Act. So shelter belts and manure storage covers are some of the conditions that council may require.
Thank you.
Well, I think if you got an alternative between a cover or shelter belt, I mean, I've driven past this location and the shelter belt is, well, I think it's depleted from when they probably put it up. Now you're expanding this, putting closer to shelter belt, then there's less ability for this shelter belt to moderate the issues that you talk about odor. To me, some of the bigger issues is what's wildlife doing with this stuff that's sitting out in the open? Any answers?
Does anybody want to answer that? I don't see any. Mr. Doucette?
Is Mr.
Spear speaking about lagoons and being open to the wildlife? Or was your question about lagoons and being open to the wildlife?
Well,
Is
we
that
were talking about having a cover, so presumably the cover would be a distance in it for wildlife. In the case of shelter belt, no.
when I drive around, I go to Broken Head, I go to the municipal lagoons. There's no shelter belts on those. They're open to wildlife, geese and things like that. That's what I've observed.
Well, I think where we're adding copious amounts of manure based on the projected extra 20, we're putting 20,000 birds added to the liquid manure. Am I right?
Yes, it's 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah, 20,000. So I think that's an issue. The other thing is question is in your assessment of this project, was any assessment done of the water quality in the Cooks Creek that runs through the whole property?
There was not, there's no.
I'll get you to come up and speak, please. We have Zoom on, so they got
Fair
to
enough,
hear you
yeah.
too.
There was no water quality testing that has been done. There's not been any issues that would require that at this point. No complaints and no negative impacts downstream that would require or initiate such an investigation.
Thank you.
In that case, you wouldn't know. How would you know if you had an issue downstream?
Mr. Spears.
If you're not checking what's actually passing through, it's a very intensive livestock operation. To me, that's a key point.
Okay, if we can go to the questions, please.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing a major increase in the population of the livestock here, going up to 20,000 in the case of the layer operation, going up to another 20,000 to 20,000 in the broiler operation. And that's a substantial increase by 8 times for the broiler operation, and more than doubles the what's happening in the broiler operation. And so to me, that requires a lot more scrutiny. And
what's your question, Mr. Spears?
Has there been any account taken for avian flu?
Who would like to speak to that from the province?
I think egg producers
Or, okay, yeah. The applicant. Mr.
My name is Lance. I'm from the Manitoba Egg Farmers. I live near Crystal Spring. So it's a good question. What about avian flu? We worry about that every spring and every fall. And it's a very, if you ever have to go through that, it's really mentally challenging for any producer who has ever had to empty a barn of dead birds from avian flu and stuff like that. And as far as the water or the flock size, 20,000 birds, the average Manitoba flock size in Manitoba is 18,000. So it's a little bit higher. It's actually a very nice economical number to be at.
Okay, just if I could get you to add your name and your address, please.
My name is Lance Wallner.
Thank you.
Crystal Spring Colony.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Next question is, do you understand what the threat is from avian flu, H5N1? There's been, between October and December of this year, of 2025, there were 5 major outbreaks. Also, which means chicken cull, right? As he was mentioning. What's your name? Carl?
Lens.
Lens, okay, sorry. At any rate, plus significant die-off in the wild bird population in this area, Bloomenort, and you heard all the news about Niverville, okay? There is related to migration. We got another migration coming in 2026. There's apparently 130 active sites for H5N1 in the US in 24 states. So this is coming this way come the spring. So what are we going to do? Expand our flocks? Or do we hold? Is my question. Until we see how this plays out, because it's been a problem in fall of 2025. It's projecting to be a problem from the US for the spring of 2026. So the idea of moving forward with a major expansion of what they're talking about, is that not a concern?
Well, I would think there is some concern, but at the same time, I believe that the province and that will be always looking into this and keeping on top of it.
Well, I guess my concerns is, it seems to be manure related, is the question. And are we on top of our manure management in this colony, in terms of the reports, in terms of inspections? Are these inspections done regular basis? Is my question. To head off this problem. And
Holly,
how
would you-
regular? And if there's deficiencies, are they corrected?
Holly, maybe you could answer that, or someone there. Sorry. Name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Petra Laurel. I'm with Manitoba Agriculture. So hopefully, there's been a lot of sort of questions. So if you want to narrow some of those, I'll try to answer each that are agriculturally related in terms of what the department does and doesn't do. With respect to avian influenza, we have extensive programming through the CBO that's led by the Chief Veterinary Office. So if it is related to migration, it's in the wild bird population. That tends to be how the barns get infected, as opposed to the other way around. The barns aren't infecting the wild bird population. We have extensive biosecurity protocols that are recommended that, again, working with the chicken producers and the egg producers to implement those on farm. An infection is devastating to the operation. They're avoiding it at all costs. It's very complicated. When that does happen, CFIA is immediately involved. And between the CFIA and the CBO, the management of that flock is taken over, and the entire process is taken over by those two departments. And the priority is containment. We don't want it spreading to other barns and other flocks and that sort of thing. So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of emergency planning, and then execution for avian influenza. So I don't know on the manure management side or any of the other agricultural questions. If you have questions, I'd be happy to take those as well.
Okay, we may have some more questions once we get through the whole process here when the council is discussing things.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Spears, any more questions?
Yes. I actually took a drive out this way. I've been past it many times, but I decided to take a drive by the colony, and this was January the 13th. I had business in Steinbach. I decided to drive past up Eastdale Road off of Richland. And to my surprise, I saw a large flock of birds scratching in the snow, exposing dark material. And they were feeding on it, it appeared. And it's basically adjacent to the Cooks Creek. So I'm thinking, that doesn't look too good. So I went back on the 17th and was passing again on my way to Steinbach. And this time was at the corner of Richland Road and Eastdale Road. And I see birds back feeding again. And I'm going, we just had fresh snow. And on top of that snow is scattered, would appear windrows of something on the snow. So, well, what is this that the birds are eating? I mean, like one flock was like, I couldn't even count. It's probably like 60 or 70 of them. So it's a major flock. And, you know, the one feeding site they were at was actually right close to the Cooks Creek. Say, well, I understood that manure management was that you couldn't put manure out this time of the year because it's going to end up in the snow melt and go to wherever, never mind what the birds do. So that takes us back to the quality of water in Cook's Creek. Does anybody know when you have snow melt and runoff with the operation of the colony, how is that creek impacted? That needs to be addressed. So that's a question there. What is it these birds are flocking to that they're eating that is being spread on top of the fresh snow?
Anybody want to answer to that? I have no answers to that. But again, I'm not there, so I don't know. Okay, get up and introduce yourself and address, please.
Philip Wollmann. I'm from 36111 Richland Road. So when you're in a population or in a community where you have so many people, you'll have scraps, obviously, like you do in your own home. So what we do is we dump them out and then the birds feed on them, which is quite common. And we've had people come out and from the government and had a look at this, and I went through them with that, and they were perfectly okay with what was happening.
Thank you. Mr. Spears, how many more questions do you have?
Well, here's my response to this. I know 3 operators I personally know, and I've toured their operations, and two of them are layer operations, and one is a broiler operation. And they're very clear. There's no manure being spilt in their operations this time of the year, or scraps of food or whatever. Even when somebody comes in with feed to replenish their food granary, then they go out and actually sweep up the residue off the ground. So they don't want any birds anywhere near their operations. I'm speaking about 3. And so when I see this, I think I got a problem. Especially when considering that avian flu is an issue.
Mr. Spears, could we get to the questions, please?
Okay. Why is this being done when other operations by biosecurity say this is not appropriate? Okay.
Pardon? Yeah, I thought that was answered already too. So next question.
No, putting on table scraps for birds is not appropriate. Can I have an answer for this?
I think it did. I think they did.
Pardon?
They did.
Would you unmute yourself, Ms. Draper, please?
I think what we heard was that he was doing it and reviewed it with the province and there was no concerns, so.
That's not the information I have. They're very particular. Biosecurity is, putting out stuff that attracts wildlife onto your footprint. Their feces, whatever else happens, especially under the conditions we're under now.
I'm not sure that's something that council controls though, so.
I don't think so either. I don't believe council controls that.
I'm not saying council controls it. I'm just asking for answers. What you do control is whether this goes forward. Right? Is that a right question? A fair question?
I can't answer that, as you know. So next question, please.
We'll start 10 minutes for the next.
Okay.
Hey, I'm going to hold for the conclusion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next, we have Miss Bell, I believe.
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Fraze, you stated that the 33 imperial gallons per person per day for domestic use in that water requirement table is for individuals working in the barns. Is that correct?
That would be my understanding. Our tables are fairly standardized. That being said, I did not develop that table. We just use that as our standard table. So perhaps our municipal relations can speak to that.
Yes, I would like to have somebody that can answer that question, please. Because it was not answered thoroughly. And it
Okay,
leaves a lot of
Ms.
uncertainty.
Pedro's coming up to answer that.
Well, that isn't that agriculture. She was just saying agriculture, and she can talk on that sort of stuff. But I'm looking for somebody from the Water Rights Act or well, ECC, somebody from there. Groundwater, anybody?
We don't have any specific representatives from water stewardship here today, just
Okay.
myself.
So I'll move on to the next one. And second, there are 150 people on site in the colony. And according to data, evidence-based data, a person in Manitoba uses 283 liters a day. And yet this table has, as the data input, it has 33 imperial gallons, or 150 liters a day, I should say. If we do that calculation, 150 at the proper amount of water use per person, we get into a range of volume that would require a domestic water use or water rights use license. Is there a domestic water rights license? We've been told there is one that covers agriculture and aquaculture, but is there one that covers the 150 domestic people using water? Is there one covering that?
We only have record of the water rights license for the aquaculture and agricultural use.
Okay, thank you. As you know, there are 6 wells that are registered. Are they registered under that one license?
I'll ask the engineer to speak in.
Yes, the intent of the water rights license is to be all encompassing, all livestock as well as domestic use. Anything over 25,000 liters per day use requires this water rights license, or any operation or any commercial development requires this once they exceed that. The intent would be that the water rights license is updated to encompass all livestock as well as domestic needs.
Well, thank you. I
including
understand that.
aquaculture.
Yes, I understand that. So that is why I have an issue with this. I don't think the assessment of this expansion has been done properly. I also believe that the domestic water use has not been assessed. And it's quite a large volume of water within a small diameter. So has an hydrological assessment analysis been taken at all?
There has not been. That assessment is done by the Water Resources Branch when we file for that water rights license. If
Yes,
there's any
and
concerns on water volume and water production rates to meet those needs, they will dictate that study be done to satisfy those requirements.
Okay, well, I believe that one should be done. I also believe what you're telling me and what Ms. Froese is telling me are 2 contradictory statements. Ms. Froese says that the 33 imperial gallons per person per day for domestic use is within people working within the barns. You're telling me that that water table calculation, requirement calculation table, takes into account domestic use as well as the farm use. Why I have an issue with that is the input value for domestic water use is set at an incredibly low 33 imperial gallons per person, when in reality, an individual uses 67 to 75 imperial gallons a day. I have no clue, and this was used previous up until 2022. Those figures were used, and then all of a sudden, come 2023, we now see 33 imperial gallons being the input value as opposed to the 60 to 75 imperial gallons input value. And nobody seems to be able to answer that. What this does is it makes this whole assessment quite underestimated, a gross underestimation of the actual water use. So what I would like is for ECC to go back and assess the 150 people on site and the water use that's there, and then come back to council with that evidence and with that, and bring forward an assessment that is evidence-based, that does use proper and substantiated input values.
I think as Julie had mentioned there earlier, that 33 gallons is based on the usage of the livestock operation. It's the water rights license when we go to file that where we assess the domestic needs, be it per person or if there's additional industry or whatever activities are happening on the colony. Those values are assessed and included in the water rights license.
So
And
what input value do you use for domestic use then in that
300 liters per person is typical for any domestic for each individual on the colony.
Okay, where does that show up in this assessment? Why have we, well, here's a question. Is there a domestic water use license for the colony?
The water rights license is all encompassing livestock and domestic use. They did, to my knowledge, they don't differentiate between livestock and domestic use. It's one all-encompassing license.
Oh, wow, because when I looked at the TRC review, what it says is there's a water use rights license strictly for the aquaculture and the agriculture. I'm not reading anywhere. If you can come forward with that evidence and that paperwork that shows that there is the domestic water rights license is in the domestic use is in that license, I'd like to see it. Secondly, it certainly doesn't indicate that the 150 people are using 300 liters, as you said, as the input value. I'm reading 33 gallons per day per person. So there's something funky with this assessment. I am very sorry that I missed my opportunity to speak to it during the TRC hearing. I'm glad that this is coming forward as a public hearing because these things can be caught. And I'm so glad it has been caught and that you have been upfront with me. I appreciate that. So if we could go back and find where the domestic water use and ensure that it is being looked into, being covered, and being assessed. And because what we're seeing here is there is an amount of, let me just pull up the amount that you have as a total. And please understand that this households with the persons at 150 is using the 33 gallon rate and not the 300 gallon rate that you specified. So this 4,950 gallons at 33 as the input is really well below what the domestic water use is. So this assessment is very concerning. I would like everybody to go back and ensure that the input value for households consumption, when a household is on site, that it does reflect the 300 imperial gallons per day per person that you just specified, and that those total figures are calculated because we most certainly will go way beyond the grand total here of 24,343. You'll see that reach, I believe where I put it at in my calculations, well over what a water rights license would need. I think it's
I guess to address that, if council would like us to provide that number to them, we will certainly do that in short order here. With respect to the regulation of it or the licensing of it, that will be up to water stewardship to provide assessment as to whether they have any concerns with that total number.
Thank you. Pedro, would you like to speak to this?
I just want to clarify that the table was actually developed by Manitoba Agriculture. It's predominantly to show the livestock numbers and the consumption and water use based on the livestock. And it's reviewed by Water Stewardship in terms of their water rights licensing, but the numbers that are in that table are not the numbers that are within the water rights license. Once the colony or any operation who is required to come in for a water rights license does that, they look at all of the data at their disposal. So if there are, and there almost always are on livestock operations, water meters, it might be for most of the operation or some of the barns, they will incorporate the actual real data from the water meters and then scale it up for the expansion to know what they should be licensing for future use if the expansion goes forward. If they have other water sources that are not metered for watering livestock, say in pastures and things like that, they will factor that in, and you use sort of book value estimates and estimates based on livestock consumption in summer months and winter months, and they will factor that in as well. So I just want to be clear that this table these are not the numbers that are used within water rights licensing. They use all of the data that's at their disposal to estimate water consumption on the farm or on the colony.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate the analysis of the agricultural aspect of it, but my issue is with the domestic use of water. And if somebody can come back with some firmness and know that this assessment has been done proper. We have, I've just been told that the calculation table isn't really what they go for, but gosh, really something has to change here if that's the case. I would like to see that there be a domestic water use license separate of the agriculture and aquaculture if that's the case. And I hope that ECC will rectify this. This is a large volume of water that is within a small area of the aquifer system. You've got 6 wells on site. Possibly some are metered, some are not. Again, thank you. I'll let some other people ask questions.
Thank you. Any other inquiries? Having seen none, we'll move on to the those in favor, those who wish to speak in favor. Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Will Hammer. I live on 55015 East Hill Road. I basically live a kitty corner of the colony, and we live there now for 10 years, and the berms are high enough, more than high enough. I drive past there every day, and I also see, I mean, you see a lot of deer laying in the ditch. There's birds picking out and stuff like that, you know. I don't see the bird flu there, but the thing for me would be that they're actually building the new barn is that, of course, it's an old barn, right? That is existing right now. So the new barn will be, according to higher technology, better biosecurity. So I would say I'm just for it. You know, we lived there for 10 years, even the smell. We maybe get the smell in a year 2 times when there is southwest wind. And my house would be the most affected because we always get south or southwest wind. Everything is perfect.
Thank you. Next, we're in favor. You would like to come up, sir? Is there anybody else that wanted to speak? Okay, I don't see none. Now in opposition, who would like to speak in opposition? Having said that, I don't know. Okay, yeah, Mr. Spears.
And based on the information we've received so far, that I think we have a strong reason for the council to not approve this application as it's currently presented. I would direct council to have Richland bring their current operations into compliance with H5N1 protocols for their operation, a particular attention to manure management that I focused on. Further, that the Cooks Creek needs to be assessed for water quality and protocols established to protect it from negative impacts caused by the colony as a whole, not just the birds. And that the proposal to expand their operation in the boiler department by 8 times is not acceptable. I view it as speculative. And they write it as the long-term goal several years down the road. To me, this gives an opportunity to sidestep regulations that are likely to be going more restrictive in the future. With the threat of avian flu influence, it's real. It's devastating, which has been mentioned. Abbotsford, BC being a case in point. And we don't want Abbotsford here in Manitoba, in the arm of Springfield. We need to be more vigilant with updated regulations and enforcement. One of our weak spots here. I am requesting the council not approve this conditional use 2505.
Thank you, Mr. Spears. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition?
Yes, myself again.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Bell.
So I did write a letter. I'm getting.
Yes, we did receive that letter.
Yeah, there's another mic on. If somebody could turn that off so we're not getting feedback, that would be great. Now, I understand that the municipality they don't establish a water rights license. But what we're seeing here through the course of our conversation tonight is that the assessment, the TRC assessment, is contradictory. We've got people saying it's 33, and then somebody saying that it's 300 is actually the input value, but I don't see that anywhere. I also have somebody telling me that these aren't the numbers that the water rights license looks into and uses to establish a license. So this entire assessment, until it's done properly, and domestic water use, which is obvious that it requires a water rights license, until it is established, I feel that the RM of Springfield should defer until that information is brought to council to make an educated and an evidence-based decision. My letter is there. There are 5 conditions, and I would hope that the RM does establish all of those as conditions if they are to approve this, but again, defer it. And then we'll come back, and at that time, these 5, if you do that, and I really hope that you do, until that, then put those 5 in the condition, because we can't go to head on this. There's far too much contradictions and uncertainties in everything that I've heard tonight. My end result is we all have a role in protecting our environment, and part of that is by making evidence-based decisions. I can't see council making one tonight with an approval of this conditional use. Please defer it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Okay, next is we'll get a mover and a second to the motion. If you read out the motion. Get a second or a mover, please. For discussion. Okay, is there anything that the province would like to clarify at the end? I'll get you to come up here and speak. Sorry, we have Zoom on too, so.
If council has any questions about any of our programming or the processes, whether it's for water rights licensing or the manure management planning, I'd be happy to try and answer those questions, but I didn't have anything to clarify for you.
Okay, does council have any discussion for the province? I don't see none. Okay, at this time, I don't see none. Pardon? Yeah, any comments from council? Councillor Kuzinski?
Thank you. I was suggested that we get more information from the other departments and, clarify everything. And then maybe, we defer this hearing, and if we be satisfied with all the response from different departments from province, then we're not against, this, projects, but, but we have to have, for certainly, find out all the information that was raised today, and if that's going to be clarified, then we'll probably make the decision on it. Thank you.
Councillor Warren? You unmute yourself, please.
Miss Bell brought up a few points here. I'm just scrolling through her updated email. And Mr. Spears also brought up a few points. With the avian flu, we've already heard from the province that nobody wants avian flu here. They have strict protocol. We heard from the.
Sorry, Chair, we can't hear.
Councillor Warren, I guess Zoom can't hear you. Councillor Warren, yeah.
Sorry, I forgot my microphone. I hate that thing. So we've heard from Mr. Spears. We've heard from Miss Bell. Miss Bell, I'm reading her updated that she sent. We've heard from the province with the concerns on the avian flu. We've heard that, the shelter belt is depleting. It needs to be redone. We've talked about, well, we didn't. Mr. Spears talked about the quality of the Cooks Creek. So maybe that's where we get the Northeast Red Watershed to do multiple water samples from where the region starts and go downstream. But that's not us. That's the conservation district, so that would be a request. We've heard that, well, I like my chicken. I like eggs. But we've heard the concerns that, times are changing. I understand that there's no disease barns. Well, at least we try to keep disease out of barns. You take your footwear off, you decontaminate. No one's allowed in that barn except for the people that work for that barn. I know that there's a lot of precautions going on here. The water usage, we've heard from the engineer that everything is metered, and that was a really important thing to know where that is. I know Ms. Bell brought up the domestic, and I do understand that there's a lot of people living on the Hutterite colony or on the colony, and that there's a lot of animals that the ag department has to look at. So when it comes to the water rights license and all that, I think it's, and I understand where Manitoba Ag is saying, well, the water rights people take all their information in and compile it. So I think it's important for council to remember that, okay, we put a condition on it. Well, if we were to put a condition on this, you put a condition on it that they can't proceed in operation until all the requests from the province have been looked at and explored, and all the tests that are required to have done are met, right? So as long as they've fulfilled their agreements with the province, but until then, until we see that paperwork that they've done their due diligence, then they can have the operation go forward. That would be where I'm sitting,
Yeah, I think Mr. Doucette would like to add
I just like to say that that is condition number 1 within my report. And until those are completed, then we won't be issuing a building permit for the new barn.
Okay. Next, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I echo with what Councillor Warren just indicated. It's critically important to have the province on board and to have the accurate information from what particularly Ms. Bell was talking about. But I have a question because it wasn't addressed, and it's not my question, but it's a resident's question. They wanted to know, excuse me, they wanted to know if this is if these are free run chickens, I guess, or birds, or that's just a question they had, and I just want to answer that for them, or you can answer it for them. Yeah.
Yeah, so the housing type is enriched cage, which means there's perches in there and nests and feed and water. So it's a housing that's about as big as this table that houses a number of birds, and they're considered enriched, which is one of the cage types that Egg Farmers of Canada has okayed.
So is that what they're moving to? I look to the vice chair of the egg producers, I guess. Is that what we're moving from? I mean, they were really confined before.
Yeah,
And
they're up till now that we had conventional cages, and now there's 2 options. There's the enriched cages, and then there's also the aviary cages, which are the 2 approved cage types by Egg Farmers of Canada.
Yeah, sorry to elaborate. The enriched housing is it was developed in Europe about 10 years ago. Again, it has all the amenities in there, kind of considered almost like a condo. That there's, yeah, like Lance had mentioned, there's a lot of amenities in there for them. So again, for animal welfare, they can perch and get up off the ground. There's a nesting box so they can, before they lay their eggs, they can be private, lay their egg in private. There's a scratch pad in there because the hen wants to scratch naturally and peck. So it'll allow them to do that, as well as a nail file area so they can file their claws down. And again, the space per bird, I believe in conventional housing, it's 64 square inches, and now with the enriched, it's 116 square inches per bird. So yes, there's a lot more room for them to socialize, move, flap their wings, and so yeah, that's.
so these are more state of the art, and they're not as I say, confined as what the
Yeah, and it's not to put a black eye on conventional housing. There is no perfect housing method. It's again all in management. So, but yes, it is modernized, and a lot more hen amenities. Yes.
Well, thank you for your answers for that. And again, my main concern would be what Mr. Spear indicated about Cooks Creek. Obviously, Cooks Creek is an integral part of our community. We should be looking at water quality and so forth, and of course the use of water. But those are the purviews of the province, not so much us. And so I would have to defer to the province to get those safeguards in place, not necessarily us, because we don't do that. So.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Did anybody have a, sorry, did anybody have a question about manure? Did it, because
Well, and again,
I think I see a Manitoba environment person on Zoom, just in case. Nobody has any questions about?
I don't.
No, I don't. I'm done. So.
Yeah, I just like to add that, again, the province has their thing that they have to set, to have their guidelines, and their obligation as the applicant has to be within those guidelines. And is one of our first conditions that all these have been taken place. So I think that's very important. I'm not sure if the mayor would like to add into anything here, Mayor Therrien.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I've been to all the colonies, Ridgeland included there, and other farm operations there. There's lots of cattle around there that are you know, we're distributing manure on the fields. They're certainly not doing it in the frozen months where it could, you know, along with the water and the melting and so on like that. There's a certain time to do all this. So I know the colony would be. I'm confident they're following the rules implicitly. As for their wells, of course, they live there like any other farmer. They're not going to be putting manure beside their wells. And the RM has put in their map. I thought their map was excellent. They're my biggest deficiency with regards to the province report, the TRC, is that they have maps in there, but it's very crude. They don't put legends in there, and what are we looking at there? So that's my only weakness in that. But the rest of the report is quite good. The Appendix C addresses all these matters there. So and Mr. Wollmann there through his engineer shows the you know, the due diligence that they're taking with regards to this. I from the aerial photographs, I see that one thing I would report on there is that they got to make a robust shelter. You know, the trees are getting kind of thin there. I tend to agree with Mr. Spears with regards to that. I think Mr. Ham had mentioned the fact that there was some odor, and you know, you're in the rural area, you're going to get some odor there, and with shelter better enhanced, so on. I think that's going to be much better. I don't think that the avionic flu is something. I think we're kind of, you know, nobody wants that, and they're taking all the guards for that. The TRC report, you know, apart from that small minor deficiency there, is well done. The water aspect there that was brought up there, the province looks at all those conditions there, and it's noted in our report. Mr. Doucette had mentioned there in item number 1 there. So I think everything has been satisfied, at least to my. I had no questions there. I thought everything was done. The amounts of what the colony is putting through with their population, the people there. Well, it's the birds here that they take up certain amount of liquids there, water. And they're pretty close to the 25,000 limit anyways there. So, and as it's stated in that report, it's going to be addressed through the water board there. So that's all I have to say. I think the aspect there, all the answers were done quite well by the province there. So that's all I have, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Therrien. I'd just like to ask council, would council like to defer this or move forward and do a resolution to vote on? Show of hands. Oops, we just lost. I lost something. Sorry. Everybody's back again. Sorry. I'd just like to again have that discussion. If we can just show of hands to in favor to defer. If council wishes to show of hands to deferring it at this time. We have 1 in favor of deferring, and those wishing to move on with the resolution. We have 4 in favor of moving on with the resolution. So we'll move on forward. And I just want to make one note that there was one more objection that was submitted to, and I'm sure council has read them as I have. Yeah. And just wanted to make sure that was sent. Everybody knows that. And I'd like to now, if everybody's in agreement, that we close the public hearing. In agreement, so I'll close the public hearing. And I'll ask for a mover for the motion of the resolution. Councillor Warren, seconder. Councillor Fuel, and the resolution, please.
Did council want to add the shelter belt condition?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think everybody's talked about this
That would be
resolution.
good if we did that.
The shelter belt, yes.
And I'm sure that they could probably work with conservation to get some trees with their shelter belt program.
Good idea.
Yeah, they could, I know the Cooks Creek Conservation District gets usually a bunch of trees, so that you could put your name in and get those from them.
And if I can add, Chair,
Okay, Mayor Tarian?
We have that tree giveaway program there in May there, so
One
that's
tree.
no, but it's one tree, but there's lots of residences there, so that's something that they can keep in mind as well. But not enough certainly for the colony, but they can look at that too.
Okay, thank you. So we'll add that to the resolution then, please.
And now add that if we get a report about, farm usage and domestic water, if we get clarification on that, then
Councillor Warren?
yeah.
I think you could probably ask the groundwater or the water rights office for those numbers, I think. Here she comes.
I can take that back since Holly isn't here to see, because I don't know what the rules are with respect to privacy. But if you're looking for sort of water use values, the colony or Peter might be able to estimate those for you to give you a better idea of everything as opposed to what we have included in that table. And that might be an easier route, but there's no problem with asking the province and seeing what the rules are with respect to privacy.
Okay, so I officially now, I believe we'll close the public hearing.
Okay. Whereas the public hearing has been conducted under the Planning Act to consider an application filed by Michael Wollmann on behalf of Ridgeland Holding Company Limited, owner of the property located at 36111 Richland Road, for a conditional use under the Springfield zoning bylaw number 0801. And whereas council is satisfied that the requirements of Part 7 conditional uses has been met, be it resolved that conditional use order number 2505 be granted subject to the 5 conditions plus the 6th condition that the owner build up the existing shelter belts on the property.
Thank you. Take it to a vote in favor. Unanimous, it is passed. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next. Thank you, everybody. Okay, now we'll move to 6.1. The planning matters of non-public hearing. Unscheduled agenda items can be heard out of order, so we're doing them in order. So I'll, Mr. Doucette, if you could go with the 6.1.
Okay, now that the room is cleared, we'll move on to the first application for subdivision. I'll give council a quick brief on this non-public hearing item. Subdivision application 4189257850. The intent is to subdivide the 2.5 acre industrial property into 2, forming the following configuration. Proposed lot 1 will be 1.5 acres along the northern corner, being the northern corner lot, and proposed lot 2 will be a 1 acre site, which will be an interior lot. Current zoning and required zoning fall under the MG Industrial General Zoning District. Development plan designation is employment area. The proposed subdivision involves approximately 2.5 acres of land at the corner of Springfield Road and Oxford Street. The property is held under one title, certificate of title number 2550-775-1, described as Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 39092, within the northwest quarter of 1611-4. The property is level and flat. The MG zoning zoned property has an existing auto recycling and auto wrecking establishment. The applicant intends to subdivide the industrial property into 2 lots and sell the southern lot. Both properties will continue with the auto wrecking and recycling operation. Both proposed lots have existing driveway accesses onto municipal roads. Proposed lot 1 has a driveway access off Springfield Road, and proposed lot 2 has an existing access off Oxford Street. Proposed lot 1 has an existing building, a shed on the property. The main building is serviced by a holding tank and a private well. Proposed lot 2 is vacant with no buildings on the property. There was the report from community planning, and which talks about the development plan and the zoning bylaw. The comments from various departments, TerraNet, being Winnipeg Land Titles, requires a plan of subdivision. Manitoba Environment and Climate, Drainage and Water Rights Licensing has no concerns and no requirements. But if there is work on the property, they will require a water rights license. Manitoba Environment and Compliance would like to advise that the proponent of the proposed commercial and industrial facility may be subject to classes of development regulation, and where applicable, they may require to obtain an environmental license, depending on the type of business. Manitoba Hydro has easement requirements. The other agencies had no comments. There was nothing received by the City of Winnipeg, and all other agencies responded with no comments or no concerns. The report from community planning said the proposed subdivision does not appear to be in conflict with the policies of 9.4, being the Springfield Development Plan. 9.4 of the development plan refers to the employment section of the development plan. If council were to consider this subdivision, I would recommend the following 4 conditions. Number 1, the payment of the requisite fees as set out by the current municipal fee bylaw. Number 2, that any zoning variance orders be obtained if required to ensure compliance with the zoning bylaw. Number 3, that the developer shall provide a drainage lot grading plan prepared by a professional engineer for the proposed subdivision as per the municipal drainage policy, and shall be submitted to the Public Works Department for review and approval, and any drainage improvement shall be constructed prior to the issuance of any building permits for the property. Number 4, the Public Works Department will require a digital copy of the subdivision, if approved, geo-referenced in an AutoCAD Civil 3D 2010 or more recent format. I just had the 4 conditions. They will likely have to apply for a zoning variance because we had word after the notices had gone out that they still want to keep the shed in the same location, the utility shed on lot 1. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Does council have any questions for Mr. Doucette? Having seen none, we'll bring it to a vote, to a motion. A mover, please. It's not a public hearing.
No, it's not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing.
The applicant may speak, but
okay.
not the public.
Oh, sorry.
Marianne's on.
Okay. Yeah. The applicant, do you have anything to add? Sorry.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you. I do have all of the application for the variance, all the forms filled in, and I will bring them in next week to the office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, I think I asked, is any questions of the council? None. Okay, we'll bring it to a vote. Those in favor, or need a motion?
Just need a mover.
Yeah, mover, sorry. A mover, Councillor Miller, seconder, Councillor Warren.
Whereas Marion Anderson, owner of the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 39092, has submitted a subdivision application to subdivide 2.5 acres of industrial property into 2 lots. Be it resolved that application for subdivision 4189-25-7850 be approved subject to the 4 conditions.
Thank you. Those in favor? Yeah, thank you. Those in favor? Carried. All in favor, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, around to 6.2.
Next application for subdivision again is a non-public hearing. We have application 4189-25-7853. The intent is to subdivide the farmstead yard site from the existing holding of 200.9 acres. agricultural acres on 2 certificates of title, title number 278349-1 and 278349-2, to create the following. Proposed lot 1 will be 6.7 acres, being the farmstead yard site, and lot 2 will be the residual parcel at 194.2 acres. Current zoning and required zoning both fall under the AG Agricultural General Zoning District. The development plan designation and current and required are the agricultural preserve area. As mentioned, the subject lands are held under 2 property titles consisting of 200.9 acres. The intent is to subdivide the farmstead from the larger agricultural holding for the creation of a residential lot for an individual who significantly participating in an agricultural operation. The proposed lot 1, being the northern parcel, is mostly treed with a shelter belt marking its boundary. There currently is no existing dwellings on the site. However, the applicant notes that the area previously contained the original farmstead dwelling, which was removed from the property. Lot 1 is currently an existing legal driveway onto Oakwood Road. A new dwelling is proposed on this yard site, which will be serviced by a septic field and a private well. Proposed lot 2, the residual, is currently clear and is being for agricultural purposes. I believe it's grain farming on the property. There's no change in the land use. The residual parcel has frontage on both Deacon Road and Oakwood Road as well. There was a report from community planning which talked about the policies of the agricultural preserve area and the zoning bylaw. Comments from the various agencies. Winnipeg Land Titles, being Terranet Manitoba, requires a plan of subdivision. Manitoba Agriculture stated that they have no objections. Manitoba Environment and Climate Change had no concerns. Again, if there's any drainage requirements or drainage plan, they will require a water rights license. Manitoba Environment Enforcement is speaking about the on-site wastewater regulations, which require a minimum of 2 acres. Excuse me. And 198-foot frontage. Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure did not object to the subdivision, but said they won't be giving any direct access onto Provincial Road 207. Manitoba Hydro has easement requirements. The other agencies responded with no comments or concerns. And the provincial office in Beausejour mentioned that the proposed lot will meet the minimum regulations of the zoning bylaw and the on-site wastewater regulations, and it complies with the development plan under policy 442. If council were to consider this subdivision, I had 3 conditions for council to consider. Number 1, that payment of the requisite fees as set out by the current municipal fee bylaw. Number 2, that a drainage plan be provided, that the developer shall provide a drainage plan, lot grading plan for the proposed yard site prepared by a professional engineer for the proposed subdivision as per the municipal drainage policies. And shall be submitted to the Public Works Department for review and approval, and any drainage improvements shall be constructed prior to the issuance of building permits for the property. Number 3, the developer should provide a digital copy of the subdivision in an AutoCAD format. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Is the applicant, Mr. Braun, and Mrs. Douma here? Would you like to add to the application? Thank you. Does council have any questions for the applicant? Councillor Miller?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's to the applicant, if you don't mind. Thank you for coming out in such a brutally cold evening. I noticed that you're obviously doing this subdivision or requesting the subdivision, and I'm just curious, is there what would we call a set of trees? It's such an odd number, 6.7 acres. And so I was just wondering what what the oddity, usually it's 10 acres, 5 acres, 20, 35, whatever, but this just seems to be a unique
If I could just ask for your name and address, please.
Matthew Braun, 64069 Lauren Hill Road.
Yeah.
So yes, we went through the surveyor and they surveyed the site based on the tree line, so that it aligns correctly with how the area looks and that we didn't take any of our actual farmland away from operation.
And thank you for that. And that's exactly what I want to hear for agriculture preserve, is to continue to have agriculture preserved area. And so is it pasture around you, the rest of it pretty much? Or is it...
So the stuff around us is all grain farming. So we cycle through canola, wheat and soybeans on it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Don't see none. I'll ask for a mover. Whoops, sorry, Mr. Doucette.
As for the tree lines, they are mature trees, probably 20 to 30 feet in height, and there's quite a substantial row of them. So that's all I'd like to add.
Thank you. Okay, I'll ask for a mover, please. Councillor Miller, Councillor Kozinski, and the motion.
Whereas Matthew Braun and Nicole Douma on behalf of Oakwood Dairy Farms Limited have submitted a subdivision application to subdivide the 200.9 acres of property for the creation of proposed lot 1, approximately 6.7 acres, and proposed lot 2, approximately 194.2 acres. Be it resolved that application for subdivision number 4189-25-7853 be approved subject to the 3 conditions.
So I'll ask council, all those in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. So now I'll adjourn the meeting. We have no closed meeting, so it will adjourn. Those in favor? So moved. No, not for this, I don't believe.
All right, good work there, Glenn.
If I did it more often, then I'd be a pro, but I'm not. Have a good evening.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Yep. Bye.
Recording stopped.